There's a genocide that's going on in Yemen. There's a genocide that's been going on in Yemen for quite some time now. Right now, Yemen is engaged in a 5-year-old civil war. For 5 years, they've been engaged in civil war, and it begun with the vacuum that was created by President Saleh's capitulation. And then there's a 3-year-old Saudi Arabian-led blockade which restricts goods, including food. It's a land, air, and sea blockade. Not even food can get into Yemen. Yemen has a population of 29 million people. 29 million people. Right now we know 85,000 have starved to death. 85,000 children have starved to death, and that's an old number. That's an old figure. I just read a report of a father from Taiz, T-A-I-Z, in Yemen. This father, he lost his job. He was an agricultural worker. The prices of diesel have been astronomical because of the war. So he lost his job because of the diesel prices, and now he's on welfare, and he gets one tiny meal per day. And 80% of the nation of Yemen are on welfare. So 80% of the entire 29 million population of Yemen. Colorado has a population of 6 million. So Yemen is 4 times as big as Colorado. 80% of them are getting one tiny meal per day. And then this father from Taiz, he's got a 1-year-old newborn, and he feels like he's just watching his 1-year-old newborn slowly starve to death, just like the 2 kids previously to him. One starved at 6 months, the other one starved at 4 months. 4 months old, just 4 months old, starved to death. So he already had 2 kids that had already starved to death. Here's Bernie Sanders talking about trying to end the war on Yemen. Saudi Arabia gets away with this shit because America's vetoed the United Nations, and we're selling them weapons because they're a coalition partner. 15 of the 19 hijackers of 9/11 were Saudi Arabian.
We have been providing the bombs that the Saudi-led coalition is using. We have been refueling their planes before they drop those bombs, and we have been assisting with intelligence. In too many cases, our weapons are being used to kill civilians. In August, it was an American-made bomb that obliterated a school bus full of young boys, killing dozens and wounding many more.
So this is, Saudi Arabia and the United States have been, for whatever reasons, allies forever. Donald Trump, May 20th, 2017, Al-Assad and Donald Trump, the President of the United States at the time, made a deal, $110 billion right now, and then $350 billion over 10 years. So that's a $500 billion deal that Don had did with Saudi Arabia, and now we just heard that Saudi Arabia had airstriked and killed all these children. They're airstriking, killing children left and right. They attacked a school bus. A school bus? If the United States is on the side of the people that are murdering children in school buses, we're on the wrong side. Dozens were killed, and we are on the wrong side. Not only do they have to worry about the war and the famine, the cholera. There's cholera that's spreading everywhere on top of the COVID-19. Some people are trying to make this to be an Iran versus Saudi Arabia kind of thing. Maybe they're involved, maybe they're not. Maybe the Houthis were pushed into the Iranians' hands. The United Nations has declared the Yemeni genocide the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
A CNN report found evidence that American weapons have been used in a string of such deadly attacks on civilians since the war began. This past weekend, at least 20 women and a child were killed in a Saudi-led airstrike on Yemen's northwestern province of Hajj as they huddled in a house to avoid nearby clashes.
So this is awful. Bernie Sanders is on the right side of history. Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders are both against the Yemeni genocide that the United States government and the Saudi Arabia the Saudi Arabian coalition are perpetuating. Now, Joe Biden has promised to end the U.S. support for the Yemeni genocide. Now, this is interesting. I've only read this once. I've not heard him say this. Now, this is an article from the AtlanticCouncil.org, and it's a good article, so let's listen to the article. Ending the war in Yemen, which has raged for the past 6 years, would fulfill two stated goals of the incoming Joe Biden administration: restoring the United States leadership role in international affairs and reducing tensions in the Gulf. In addition, it would be in the best national security interest of the U.S. Former President Barack Obama's administration sacrificed Yemen at the altar of achieving the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran and securing short-term counterterrorism goals by heavily relying on the use of drones against Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP. The Donald Trump administration bought into the Saudi Emirati argument that the Houthi rebels, acting as a proxy force for Iran, were intent on taking over Yemen to extend Iran's influence to the Bab al-Mandab Strait and the Red Sea. The Arab coalition, led by Saudi Arabia, which launched the war against the Houthis in 2015 in order to combat Iran's malign influence, got the equation backwards. It was precisely the Saudi intervention, first in 2009 and 2010 on behalf of then President Ali Abdullah Saleh and Saleh, S-A-L-E-H, and again in 2015 with the coalition's war that pushed the Houthis closer to Iran. What started as an internal struggle for power in Yemen has turned into a dangerous regional conflict that has only brought poverty, disease, and famine. The Biden administration will have a chance to correct past mistakes by averting further destabilization of the region and by lifting Yemen from its current status as the world's worst humanitarian disaster.
As is so often the case in war, the innocent, the women and the children, pay the price. Late last year, I met with several brave Yemeni human rights activists. They had come to Congress to urge us to put a stop to this war, and they told me clearly, when Yemenis see "Made in America" on the bombs that are killing them, it tells them that the United States is responsible for this war. That is the sad truth. Mr. President, the bottom line is that the United States should not be supporting a catastrophic war led by a despotic regime with a dangerous and irresponsible foreign policy.
Bernie Sanders is absolutely right. Mistakes of the past, there is no escaping the fact that Yemen descended into conflict starting in 2011 due to the failure of Yemeni parties to come to a new national agreement after the departure of President Saleh. The takeover of Sinai, S-A-N-A-A, Sinai by the Houthis invited a counter-invasion by the Arab coalition, which the Obama administration indirectly endorsed in 2015 and empowered via logistical and material support. These actions played a role in the destruction of Yemen while achieving none of the original goals of the civil war and Saudi-led intervention. If this war continues for another year or worse, if regional powers rush towards an endgame scenario, it will result in the total destruction of Yemen and the decimation of an entire generation.
Some have suggested that Congress moving to withdraw support from this war would undermine the United Nations efforts to reach a peace agreement. But the opposite is true.
So, just yesterday or 2 days ago, January 20th, 2021, Saudi Arabia had killed 5 Houthis with airstrikes. They bombed a missile depot in, I guess, Sinai, S-A-N-A-A, Yemen, and that's in the Beta province. So there's still murder, there's still bombing, there's still killings going on. And with that, $500 billion, Saudi Arabian weapons deal that Donald basically handed to, this terrible terrorist regime of Saudi Arabia. Remember, it was the Saudi Arabia, 15 of the 19, and then I think it was the Saudi Arabian government that paid them to do it. 9/11. So, with this deal, this $500 billion deal, the House Democrats have voted to block the deal because, you know, we're killing civilians. Our weapons are being used to kill the civilians in Yemen. And the Houthis, I think it's some kind of movement where they're just young people and people that own small businesses and shit who just are pissed or some shit, like regular folks. So the House Dems voted to block the $500 billion weapons deal that Donald and the Al-Assad had agreed on. Raytheon and Saudi Arabia, they're going to team up in order to help make Saudi Arabia some high-tech bomb parts. So Raytheon, this is the Austin Lloyd III, who's now the new defense secretary for Joe Biden. So Raytheon now is the war czar for America. And Saudi Arabia has, Raytheon's peckers in Saudi Arabia's pocket because they're helping them build high-tech bomb parts. And then there is an $800 billion emergency declaration in May 2019. So not only did they have a $500 billion package, but Donald pushed for a May 2019 $8 billion emergency package for Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Jordan. So we're giving $8 billion to Jordan, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and this is for precision-guided bombs, F-15s, laser-guided missiles, and then there's also $1 million of small arms, semi-automatics. So this is what we're doing. We're giving weapons to Saudi Arabia, the same ones that bombed us on 9/11. We attacked all these innocent nations that had nothing to do with us, and yet the nation that is most responsible for 9/11, we're going to give them precision-guided bombs, F-15s, laser-guided missiles. My God, I mean, it seems like there's no downsides to being the enemy of the United States. You got, $500 billion weapons package right there, $8 billion on top of it for, I guess, emergency thing. You get Raytheon. Raytheon's over there helping them build some high-tech bomb parts. And Yemen is their own sovereign nation. Yemen is right there. You got Saudi Arabia, the peninsula. They're right there on the bottom. Yemen is right there on the southern, the west, the southern, the left side of the south side. And that's Oman. So you got Yemen on one side and Oman on the other. And so Yemen is, adjacent to Saudi Arabia. They got the blockade on them. And then right across from Yemen, you got Djibouti and Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia. So we got troops in Somalia. And Djibouti, I believe, has a military base there. And so you got the United States all over the place. All over the place. We can't give food to nobody because of Saudi Arabia. They're perpetuating a genocide. And there's cholera and there's COVID. I mean, my God, this is awful. This is terrible. This shit's been going on for 5 fucking years. Barack Obama did it. Donald Trump did it. Joe Biden is saying he's going to pull out. Will he get out, this fucking Yemen bullshit? Because we got blood on our hands. We're bombing school buses. These airstrikes are just killing random children on the countryside.
It is the promise of unconditional U.S. support for the...
So I don't know exactly who these damn Houthis are, but I don't feel like the Houthis are like... There's nothing innately like terrible about them, and then because you're attacking the Houthis, these kids are not Houthis. These kids are... This is terrible. This is awful. So the condition in Yemen has not improved. In fact, it's gotten a lot worse. 85,000. I guarantee you that's probably, 5, 6, 7 times higher than, but that's the number that we got so far. This, 29 million people. 29 people. The entire nation's on the brink of starvation and cholera, COVID, disease, and then, without being outright bombed to death. So Bernie Sanders is correct. We need to end the war, end the genocide, end the Yemeni genocide now. End the Yemeni genocide now. Joe Biden, if you promised it, just stick to your word. Anyways, that's the update on Yemen.